Hi Noteboard Gamers and welcome back to Noteboard Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark. Now in today's episode I'm going to be discussing the great time I had at last weekend's UK Games Expo. So for those of you that don't know, the UK Games Expo or UKGE is an annual event. It's the UK's largest board gaming related event. There's loads of stalls and events and obviously publishers there, etc. Loads of open gaming. It's just kind of 3 days of intense, if you want it, gaming experience. Now I was there for 2.5 days. So the con normally runs from the Friday to the Sunday, but there's a press preview on the Thursday night. So I was there at the press preview and Friday and Saturday. I had to leave late Saturday evening. So let me tell you about some of the great games I saw. Now, obviously my focus is solo. The thing when you're demoing at a con, generally you're not going to be demoing a solo game. But obviously, you know, I demoed quite a few games and had a look at quite a few games that have solo modes in them. So let's start with the press preview. So I met up with Ricky Royal and we headed to the press preview on the Thursday night. Now, there are a number of publishers at the press preview kind of showing what they've got. Some of these games I'll be talking about in a bit more depth in a little while, and you'll have to forgive me if I keep referring to my phone because that's where the sequence of everything is. So kind of the first people that we saw at the press preview was a guy who I've been speaking to for quite a while now online. Obviously he lives in the States and previewed their game, and it came out to Kickstarter backers earlier this year, and it's utterly fantastic. I would say, you know, it's probably one of the best sold games at the con, and this is Distilled from Paverson Games, and I met with Dave Beck and Richard Woods there, and we talked a little bit about Distilled, and then talked about Lucida, which is their new game, which is coming to Kickstarter, I think, next year. There was an early prototype that they were demoing at the con, and I did prototype that, I think, on the Saturday. I'll talk more about that moving forward when we get there. I also met with the guys who do Legends Untold as well at the press preview. Now, Legends Untold is this RPG dungeon crawlery thing. Looks fun. I don't know if it's exactly my type of game, but I think it kind of condenses the whole kind of dungeon crawly RPG thing down into a manageable size for people. But it looks fun. I think they've got a new kind of big box coming out that you can put everything in and various expansions. So if Legends Untold is your thing, then you need to keep an eye out for them. Next thing was a game that not many people would have heard of, and Ricky Richard Wilkins told me that it was an absolutely fantastic game. Now, you have to get an expansion to get the solo, and this is Pauper's Ladder from Paul Stevenson. And honestly, first of all, Paul, what an absolutely lovely guy, like really, really, really nice guy. I never got to play it over the weekend, but I think I'm going to order it from the website. Only a small publisher. Excuse me. So I think I'm going to order this and the expansion that allows you to do solo from the website, and I'll probably have a review of that a little bit later in the year. But a beautiful looking game. Ricky said it's a real joy to play, one of his kind of hidden gems that he's found recently. So do go and check out Pauper's Ladder. Splayed Out from CGE, the upcoming expansion for Lost Ruins of Arnak, and I'll tell you what that's called in a second when I can zoom in. That is called The Missing Expedition. I didn't get to play it. For those of you that may know me, Arnak is not one of my favourite games. I understand why it works for people. It's a beautifully designed game. I absolutely understand why it works for people, but I've tried variations of it, multiplayer, solo with a campaign, solo with the increased cards, etc. And I find it okay, but for those people that absolutely love Arnak, I believe that Missing Expedition is going to be launched at, I want to say, Gen Con this year, not Essen. So yeah, you'll see on the screen, obviously, all the various components for it. Then we saw a game that I just saw last year, and I've been speaking to the guys for the last year or so, and I will be talking about this a little bit later on because I did demo this. It will have a solo mode, and it's called The Old King's Crown. And I noticed it last year, and it was one of the most beautiful looking games I've seen for a long time. And the guys have been in development even for this past year, from UKGE to now, and they've been working with Leader Games as well. And it is an absolutely stunning game, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little bit later on because I did demo that on the Saturday. Then I saw Fate Forge from Mighty Boards. So Fate Forge is this, yes, it uses an app, but again, it's a kind of campaign style, dungeon crawly style game, but quite cleverly, the scenarios are quite short, kind of 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour maximum, and it's got a wonderful branching narrative in there, and it's getting ready to ship to backers now as well. So that's gone really, really quickly. I think it was only kind of announced at UKGE last year, and they're already in a position now to ship it to backers, and they've added some certain bits to it as well. And then I got to see Apex Legends set out, so I finally met up with Jakub Wisniewski. Jakub, forgive me if I mispronounce your name. Been speaking to Jakub for the last few years. Obviously, I previewed Frostpunk. Love Frostpunk, my game of the year last year. And then got to see Apex Legends laid out in all its glory. And again, I demoed that and I got a few thoughts on that in a wee while when I talk about that. But that was kind of the press preview wrapped up for me there, which was great. I mean, there was lots of other games as well that I saw, but they're kind of the major ones that I saw there. And it's great to see people like Mark Monk and Johnny Williams and Hilmar there as well, my buddy Hilmar. So then the press preview wrapped up and the open gaming was open. So thankfully, and very grateful to Paul Grogan. Paul had received kind of an early production copy of Voidfall from Mindclash. I previewed it last year. I played it a number of times on TTS and played the physical version with David Turksey at Aircon a little bit early this year. Well, Paul was gracious enough to lend that to Hilmar and myself and David Turksey. So myself, David and Hilmar sat down for a 3-player game of Voidfall. Now, I know I've raved on about Voidfall in the past, but it gets better every time I play it. And yes, it feels complex when you first go in there. But once you start playing it, it starts to make sense. Bear in mind, it's not a combat game. Combat is something that you will encounter, but it's very, very, very deterministic, the combat. So you'll know whether to have combat or not based on kind of where you are on the board and what your ships and resources are. The final production looks absolutely stunning. It wasn't the one with with the triple layered kind of hex boards that I think is in the deluxe one that I'm getting, but it had some great looking components. The gameplay has been so tuned, and it is a finely tuned machine. Now Hilmar, my friend from Iceland who played it with us, myself, David Turksey and Hilmar, had never played it before. And it was his game of the con. There and then, his game of the con. And to be honest, it's probably my second game of the con, but because it's not out for people to buy and it wasn't being properly demoed, it was purely that Paul lent us his copy that he's going to be doing the how to play video on, that I can't really announce it as, kind of up there in my games of the con. But trust me, when you get Voidfall, you're going to be so very happy with it. So that was kind of the Thursday. Then we went Thursday night. Then we went into the first day of the show, which is the Friday. So on the Friday, I got there a little bit after opening. I thought I'd let the crowds go kind of die down a little bit. So I probably got in there about 9:30, 9:45. It opened at 9 o'clock on the Friday. And I'm going to beeline to my buddies James Faulkner and Paul David Allen over at the Stone Stored Games stand. Now, again, if you watch the channel, I previewed and absolutely raved about Senjutsu, the kind of samurai skirmish game. Well, they had a kind of factory production copy there, and it looks utterly fantastic. It's on the boats, guys, and I so cannot wait to get Senjutsu into my hands and start playing it, because I absolutely loved playing with the prototype. I've loved everything about the development. These guys are very, very, very passionate about what they do and making sure they're delivering the right product. And we talked a lot about some of their other games they've got coming up, and also some games they've got coming up that they can't announce as well. But yeah, Senjutsu, if you don't know anything about it, go and check it out. Go and check out the video on my channel. Go and check out the Kickstarter, etc. Not the Kickstarter, the Board Game Geek page. It's on the boats now, and I think you're going to be like, really, if you like a skirmish game, it's beautiful, one of the best positional play games I've played. So that was Senjutsu from Stone Sword Games. They also had Daimyo. All right, so Daimyo is this 6-player Martin Wallace game that's coming out, and it looks utterly gorgeous. David Digby has worked very hard, and I was speaking to David and Paul and James about it, about designing a solo mode for this. And yeah, David assures me that he's done a great job on this, and I have no reason, because David makes some fantastic solo mode. So Daimyo is this again, it's set in Japan like Senjutsu, and it's just this wonderful looking Martin Wallace game. Really looking forward to seeing how that develops. I think I'm going to be playing at least a 6-player game of that, and they're going to be showing me how the solo works as well, so I can cover the solo for the channel for the preview for it. So that's coming to Kickstarter a little bit later this year, obviously after Senjutsu has fulfilled. Now, also, part of Stone Sword is Paper Fork Games, and they did Cosmoctopus, which kickstarted last year. It's already ready to fulfill now, so its turnaround is very, very quick on Cosmoctopus. And they have a new game, they have a new IP, which is Terraria probably, which is the computer game. They have the IP for the board game. It looks great, it looks fantastic. I don't know too much about it. I think again that's coming to Kickstarter in a wee while, but I know there's a lot of people out there that love the computer. I've never played it, so there's this reason I don't know too much about it, and the stall was getting really full and busy at this point, and I didn't want to take up somebody's spot for playing Terraria. But do check out Terraria when it comes to Kickstarter a little bit later this year. Went across to see my buddy Dav regarding the Stowe, the expandable portable board game table. Now I'm kind of part of that project, so I don't want to push it too much on here. So this is a board gaming table that my buddy's designed that kind of folds down into a box. Really, really good. It's going to be coming to Kickstarter in the next 2 or 3 months. Been a few delays while we've been getting not shipping costs, production costs, manufacturing costs, and some fine tweaking on the designs done. But Dad's been working very, very hard on that. So go and check out Stowe. That's Stowii, and yeah, go and check out Stowe on Facebook, on the internet, on the website, etc. You'll see a little bit more about the gaming table. But Dav had a great weekend there, kind of showing Stowe and some of the other stuff he makes as part of his business, which is called Fancy Woodworks, which is all wood-based board gaming, RPG type stuff, dice towers, dice boxes, etc. Then went over to see Lone Wolf Miniatures game. So this is now Lone Wolf is an RPG. They're making a miniature style adventure game with it. Again, Stone Sword are going to be developing this for them. Very early days so far. It's got a book for a map, and of course you play that through, and you can play various characters. Don't know much about the Lone Wolf world. What I saw there, it looks very much like it should do, like you would expect an adventure game to look. So probably want to keep an eye on. Don't know when that's coming out, but it looks okay. That. Then there was a game which I think has been delivered to Kickstarter backers now, and I don't know much about it, but they had it for sale there, and it is Escape from Stalingrad Z. Now, it is a kind of World War II zombies game. It looks really intriguing, and the only reason I didn't buy it is because I'd made a bit of a mission to not really buy anything at the UK Games Expo. Yes, that's the only reason I didn't buy it. Otherwise, I may well have picked it up and done a review on it at some point. But yeah, it looks a really interesting kind of little game. Again, everything's in, I think it's in a book that you pull out. Yes, in a ring binder book that your maps are on there. Each session is going to take you 20-30 minutes. It's a campaign style game where you're battling zombies in World War II. Yeah, looks interesting, and they've also got a miniature tabletop miniatures game for it as well, so you can like use the same mechanisms into a big scenario. They had like plastic, like a plastic diorama basically of a street, etc. Yeah, I think at some point I may well pick that up. Then, so we talked about earlier in the press preview how I met with Dave and Richard from Paverson Games. Well, I got to demo Lucida. I love Distilled. I think Distilled is that perfect balance about being really accessible but providing a good challenge at the same time. You really engage with it, etc. So Lucida is a lot heavier than Distilled. That's the key thing to say. And in Lucida, you're going to be making instruments, repairing instruments, kind of seeding the orchestra, learning music, playing the music, etc. And it's very Lucida-esque in its kind of approach to stuff. So, well, here we go. You can see I've got Inventions that I'm doing a video for the preview on the solo for Inventions. So I love me some Lucida. So this hit a really good note with me. Now, it was a very, very, very early prototype. I don't think it's coming to Kickstarter until next year. But speaking with Dave Beck and obviously knowing just how much love and attention went into Distilled, I think this is going to be a fantastic product when it's released. I say very early prototype, only played a couple of rounds of it, liked what I played, be interesting to see how the solo works on it because there is an element of blind bidding in there. But yeah, one to keep an eye out for is Lucida. Then I went to see something called All on Board. Now, I don't have any video footage or any footage of what I was looking at, if you like, because this is a VR board gaming experience. So if you've got your MetaQuest and headset, etc., they're going to be releasing this All on Board. Now, I was going in there thinking it may be a little bit gimmicky, this. It may not quite work, but I sat at a table, it had two other people sat next to me. You've got a copy of Istanbul in front of you. The controls felt really, really intuitive. You were picking up pieces, you were picking up money, you were moving cards around and placing cards, etc. Felt really intuitive. And I went from being slightly skeptical to being like, oh my God, this is actually brilliant. This could kind of revolutionize how we play board games with people if you've got VR headsets. Now, they've got 12 games that are coming out for it. Things like Rallyman are going to be on there, etc. The only one that got developed so far is Istanbul. And we didn't play the game. It was just about, moving the assets around and understanding how the interface works and whatnot. But it felt so good. You were having conversations with people. And I say it felt, you got the tactility of picking pieces up. If VR continues to grow as it is, it's very early days for something like this, but I'm very interested in seeing how it progresses and how it moves out and what else happens. Really, go and, if you're interested, go and check out All on Board. I think, it's going to be something that if you have an interest in VR, you have an interest in playing remotely with people, around the country, around the world, etc., it could be a new way to experience things that aren't TTS based. That was kind of the Friday there, and then I played what would be my best game of the con. So I met up with David Turksey on Friday again, and he took me through an unannounced game that he's developed. It's going to get announced, I think, a lot later this year for kind of the next year delivery. I really can't tell you anything about it at all, like not even an inkling of anything about it. So don't be looking for clues because I promise you there are none here. But it took about 2 hours for the two of us to play the game, and it was amazing. I'm going to put my hand on my heart and make a soft bet here that when this game is released, it is going to be one of the biggest release games of that year. It's going to be one of the most successful releases of a game that year. And I'm not saying everyone's going to be like it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's going to be so very, very popular. I really wish I could tell you more about it. I can't. Keep an eye out. Some announcements back end of this year, but just trust me. I know how passionate David is about this, and it was absolutely. It blew me away with how good it was. So it was great. It was great. And then we went for a burger afterwards and had a good chat, etc. So that was the Friday. Right, let's move into the Saturday now. So come Saturday, I was quite rightly a little bit tired. I'd walked over 9 miles on the Friday, and it was a really, really, really good day. I had lots of meetings with publishers and saw lots of games being played, etc. And I didn't take photos and speak about every game. See, one of the issues of going to a games con as a solo gamer is you can't really demo solo games. You have to demo the multiplayer games. But, at least I was speaking to publishers who have solo modes in their games, etc. And some really exciting stuff coming through for the channel as well in the next few months. So on the Friday, I started off with a meeting with Incredible Dreams Studio. Now, they had a Kickstarter last year for Kinfire Chronicles. Again, another kind of campaign, fantasy RPG type game. Pretty well received in the previews for it, and I think it's starting to deliver to Kickstarter backers right now. And they've also got a 1 to 2 player card game that's coming out in the same kind of Kinfire universe as well. They're going to be sending me a copy of both of those to cover on the channel. The card game kind of as a preview before it comes out, and Kinfire Chronicles to review as well. But really excited to see how that progresses, because I was pleasantly surprised by just the quality of what the final production copy looked like. Now, there were people playing it around, demoing it, etc. I didn't get to demo it, but Jane from Incredible Dreams took me all the way through exactly how the game works, and it sounds like it is my kind of adventure style game. So looking forward to Kinfire Chronicles and the board game. Then I met with Andrew Navarro. So Andrew is ex-FFG, spent some time at Chip Theory Games, and he kickstarted a game last year called Earthborn Rangers. And I absolutely fell head over heels in love with Earthborn Rangers. I think I can try and describe it to you. So it's an open world card-based adventure game. So I want you to think about something like Arkham Horror, the LCG, but without the grind, without the disconnectedness of the scenarios, without the cruelty of it, and everything you need to play the game and whatnot comes in the box as well. Took me through. We had a couple of hours conversation about everything to do with it. Really impressed with the sustainability message on this as well. There's no plastic used in the game. They're using FFC wood for the game, the box, etc. It looks absolutely glorious, and Andrew's going to send me a copy of that. I should be getting that in the next month or so to review. Now, I'm not a huge Arkham Horror fan. You got the mythos bag, you got the fact that they are individual scenarios, etc. And you've got the money grabbing model that FFG kind of run for Arkham Horror, where you've got to buy more to do more. Earthborn Rangers is completely replayable. You choose your character, and essentially it's kind of year 41, 42 or something like that, and the Earth has been doomed, and then all humanity's come together. So you choose and build your character and get your cards together, and then you go off on an adventure. And one of the great things about it, when I say it's not a cruel game, is if you come across a creature, you don't have to kill it. You can scare it off. You can befriend it. Your options are limitless. And there's a big map there with this wonderful world, expansive world. And I know I'm really going to enjoy it. And my wife likes card-based games, and I think Neve is going to enjoy this as well. So really a bit of an unexpected hit for me, Earthborn Rangers. I think if you didn't check it out at the Kickstarter, it's something you should be looking into. It's going to start getting delivered to backers any time now, basically. So I think, again, it's another game that's on the boat, so a relatively short window for the Kickstarter to fulfill on this. Andrew obviously has bags of industry experience with FFG and was working with Chip Theory Games. Really lovely guy, fantastic looking game. Kind of my surprise hit of UK Games Expo is Earthborn Rangers, one that you really need to put on your radar. Then after Earthborn Rangers, I moved off my photographs now, so I don't know where I am. I went over and met with Tristan Hall from Hall or Nothing Games. Now, I have hopefully the next 2 to 3 weeks, it's number 3 on my list of videos I need to make, a review of 1815 Scum of the Earth. But Tristan, absolutely top bloke, lovely bloke. I've been speaking to him for a while now, and we keep saying every time we meet at a con, we just need to get a game together. Obviously you've got the the Kilforth games, got Veil Wraith, etc. Wonderful card-based games. A lot of the historical fiction stuff like Tears to Many Mothers and 1815. Then you've got the more fantasy kind of stuff with Veil Wraith and Gloomer Kilforth, etc. But if if card-based games sound like your thing, then you want to go and check out Hall or Nothing Productions. Got another big Kickstarter coming fairly soon. Wants to make sure they're delivering on the last one first, but another big Kickstarter coming fairly soon. Always a pleasure to meet and speak with Tristan, one of the nicest guys in the industry. Then I told you I was going to speak about the Old King's Crown. So I then got to demo the Old King's Crown. Now I've been speaking to these guys for the best part of a year, and this game deserves to be utterly massive. It is 1 to 4 players. As I say, it's been in development for quite a while now. Leader Games have helped out in the last 12 months with development on it, so you know that they're kind of polishing the diamond on this as well. So they must have had faith in the project to help the guys kind of make it even better. The artwork is utterly stunning, and Pablo, who's one of the designers of the game, did the artwork as well. I think some of the best artwork I've seen in a game. So we demoed I think 3 rounds of a 4-player game. So it was me and 3 guys I didn't know. Pablo gave us a great overview on the rules, which took about, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, something like that, and then introduced rules as we were playing. And this has got like blind bidding, it's got a bit of backstabbing in there, you got not quite area control, but you're bidding for certain sections whilst you're trying to gain influence. You've got powers and abilities that come from your cards or from the particular character that you've got. It was Right, so I talked about how Voidfall and Turks' unannounced game were kind of, the top tier of the games that I played. The games that I played that were available to everybody, Old King's Crown was definitely the game of the con for me. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. There is a solo mode, and they are going to send me a preview copy so that we can cover the solo mode, I can cover the solo mode on the channel. But it was utterly fantastic. There was, I don't think, from a multiplayer game, I don't think I played a game with as much player interaction, as there was in this game. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this kind of translates to a solo mode as well. But you know what? It's one of those games where you're just having fun, turning the tables on somebody, making their decisions they've thought long and hard about suddenly meaningless for them. And it was absolutely fantastic. Everybody I spoke to about Old King's Crown complimented the artwork. I mean, it was just absolutely stunning. Said it was like, the best looking game at the con, and complimented the fact that it just felt great fun to play. Now, it comes to Kickstarter in autumn this year. Go and check out the Old King's Crown. As I say, there is a solo mode. I've not played it yet. They're going to get the solo mode to me. I've not played it yet. Can't wait to play it. But I know if I was in a group of people and they said, right, what do you want to play? I'd be like, yeah, let's play Old King's Crown. Because it's one of those games that you will play at game night or when you have friends around, and everybody is going to have such a fantastic time. Sorry if I'm waxing lyrical about it. Honestly, it's one of the freshest gaming experiences I've played. I'm not saying all the mechanisms are new, not necessarily, but what you've got here is a beautifully designed game that is an output of the thought and the dedication that's gone into there, and all of that shines through in the production, the artwork, and in the gameplay. That's the Old King's Crown. Then, my final stop on the Saturday. Again, I went to meet Jakub Wisniewski from Glass Cannon Unplugged. And I finally got to play Apex Legends. As you know, I think Apex Legends has just finished its run on Kickstarter. There is going to be a solo mode for it. Turksy is involved in the solo mode for it. And based on what I played in terms of a multiplayer game, it's a 4-player game. It was everything you would imagine it would be from a company who produced Frostpunk. They put kind of passion of what they do into the IP, into the project at hand. It looks absolutely fantastic. You got the 3D terrain, you got the miniatures, you got the ring closing in on you, you got the dual layered boards and the cards that you work from to kind of shoot and do your moves, etc. It was so well designed. I don't know what I was expecting, but it exceeded my expectations in terms of what can be done with this game. For while I played it, I was having a great time with it, with one caveat. So I was playing again with 3 guys I'd never met. One of them was on my team, and then there was 2 guys on the other team. And the 2 guys on the other team, they had horrendous AP, so analysis paralysis, on every turn. So by the end of the demo is an hour, 15 minutes rules, if you like, so 45 minutes gameplay, there or thereabouts. I'd had 3 turns, because what these guys were doing is you get 2 actions per turn. and they were analysing each and every action, working out all the permutations for it. So it kind of spoilt the flow of it being an FPS, if you like. So an FPS is all about making split-second decisions and then going with it and seeing what happens, etc. But they were really working out kind of where they could move, who might do what that could impact on them, moving the pieces, moving them back, moving them here, moving them there. You know, not a problem in some games. You know, it's not a dig against the guys at all. That's obviously how they play. But for an FPS, it just kind of, it tampered that out. I just wanted to play more of it. I really want to play more Apex Legends. And I was kind of frustrated on the inside that they were taking so long over everything. So it's a fairly easy remedy in my perspective. You introduce some form of timer. So I'd say 2 actions per turn. You know, you're going to be thinking about your turn as everybody else is taking their turn. But when it gets to you, 20 seconds for your first turn. If you've not started your first turn in that 20-second period and the alarm goes off, then you lose that turn and you've got 20 seconds for the next turn. Or, 20 seconds for your first turn, you take that, and then 20 seconds for the next turn. That would absolutely kind of nail the issue of people taking too long on their play, because it needs to be fast, it needs to be quick, it needs to be moving around this board at a rapid pace and rolling with the punches, because your health goes down, but you can get you can get med packs that will boost your health back up, etc. So you're not one single move at the beginning of the game is going to make a difference at the end of the game. What you're doing is you're going with it, you're going in a direction. If you're a casual gamer, video gamer on any FPS, you may have some preferred routes on a particular map, but generally you're just going to run in, go full Leroy Jenkins and run in and try and blast people, and that's what you want from it. So it just needs that element of reducing that AP. But that aside, everything about it, it's not a difficult rule set. The rules made perfect sense, so it's not a difficult rule set. I can see it being a huge hit on the tournament scene, but also, with people with younger gamers or friends, etc., who are into video games. And certainly, I don't know anything about the solo mode just yet, but a little bit from what David was telling me. But yeah, it feels like it's going to be a great solo mode as well. So if you've been skeptical about Apex Legends, I don't work for Glass Cannon Unplugged, as you know. I don't take money from anybody for any of the content that I do. But if you were skeptical about it, I can say from my multiplayer play, despite the AP, it's a game I want to play again and again and again and again. So that was Apex Legends. So yeah, that was kind of the main games I saw at the con on the Thursday, Friday, and the Saturday. Then Saturday night, myself, Luke Hector, Hilmar and his friend Stormy, Hilmar and Stormy from Iceland, I taught them a 3-player game of Inventions. So I didn't play a game on the Saturday night. So I taught them I got some rules wrong, of course I did. I think I'd only played it 1.5 times since then, so I got some rules wrong. But yeah, it was great to get Inventions out there. I taught it as solo gamers. You know what it's like. You try and teach somebody something. It's not a natural thing. We just read the rules, get some of them wrong, play it again, understand we got it wrong, and nurture our experience through it. So it's, whilst I have taught games in the past, it was a good experience for me to kind of understood how people played the games, and that really helped me understand the game a little bit more. So when it got round to playing my solo version of it today, I've got the video coming out for the Kickstarter, which launches on the 15th, so I'll have a solo preview video coming out of Inventions for that. It was great to watch these guys have fun, do the Lucida thing with a game that's not out there. Lots of people coming up, checking it out, having a look at it, asking lots of questions about it. I think Inventions is great. The more I play it, the more I love it. And it's one of those games that in your first maybe 2 or 3 games, you're working out strategies, but then after that, you get to understand the mechanisms, you get to fall in love with it. So it's a game that deserves multiple plays. So yeah, that was the Saturday night, and then I had to jump on the plane. Good God, no! I had to jump in my car and drive home. So I think I got home about midnight on Saturday. So that was my kind of rundown on some of the games I saw at UKGE. Now, there were loads of people there. It was great to meet up with people I've met online, or publishers I've met to before, or people I've met at cons before, etc. The open gaming was completely packed each and every bloody night, which is great. But you can struggle to find a table, but you can use places like the Hilton, etc. Unfortunately, this year I didn't get to do Paul Grogan's Just One event that he does for charity, which I did last year. So would have been great to do that this year, but it was on the Saturday. I had to teach Inventions, and I had to drive back home. So overall, I think the con was probably as busy as I've seen it. I think there were 52,000 visitors this year, or 52,000, with 32,000 unique visitors there as well. The food was, it's convention food, but fortunately you got the Resort World, which is just a short walk away if you want something a little bit different, and if you can get into the restaurants that are there. Absolutely fantastic weekend. Kind of sad that I came home on the Saturday, but also glad as well, because generally when I've been in the past on the Sunday, I only stay a few hours, then I leave, so I'm paying for a hotel room that 100 and whatever it is, 150 quid for a night for a hotel room, that I then, leave the con after a couple of hours on the Sunday, and that's generally just going around and saying goodbye to people. So, but yeah, absolutely fun. I think most of the people that went had a fantastic time. There's so much to see there, absolutely loads and loads to see. It felt buzzing, it felt exciting. It felt like the board gaming world had moved back into what it was pre-COVID, and then some, because the atmosphere was absolutely electric. So, if you're considering going to UKGE and you've never been before, I would highly recommend going. Do I recommend going for all 3 days? If you've got the stamina and the gumption for it, absolutely. One day is difficult because there's so many games that you're going to want to demo, and so many people you're going to want to speak to, that in one day it just doesn't feel like long enough. So you may want to try 2 days. I know accommodation becomes an issue then, but even if you just do 1 day next year, then make sure you go out and do 1 day. I didn't even get in the bring and buy because the queues were absolutely massive, and yeah, I didn't do much of any of that kind of stuff. The only thing I bought the entire con was a storage box for my Frosthaven tiles. There we go. So that cost me, I spent on goods that I bought at the con a grand total of £18 for my Frosthaven storage box from the Cephalla Fair stand. So yeah, you can go and not spend money. You can go just for the experience. I've seen people's hauls where they're coming back with loads and loads and loads of games. You can do and spend as much or as little as you want. You don't have to spend anything, and you can literally just go there. And the open gaming, loads of people looking for players. So if you just want to go, want to see what's out there, speak to some publishers, have a look at some new games, then go and play games with friends or with people you've never met before, it's a perfect day out. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. I was knackered, I was tired, I came back with concrete, so that's why the video's kind of a week on from that. As most people come back from conventions with, not COVID thankfully, but I had a wonderful time. Great meeting everybody I met, wonderful publishers that I spoke to as well. It's really heartening just to find publishers willing to speak and just, willing to talk to you. And it's not necessarily about games, they just want to chat sometimes. They're not monsters, etc. Great to see some of the other content creators there. Obviously, Luke Hector, Johnny Williams, Mark Monk, Ricky Royal, Mike and Michael from Ready Steady Play, Paul Grogan, etc., who I didn't get to spend any time with this year, and I'm kind of gutted about that because I think Paul Grogan's absolutely fantastic, and Gaming Rules is like an invaluable resource for gamers. But make sure you go. If it feels like it's your kind of thing, go. You're not going to be disappointed. There we go. That's my rundown. Thank you very much for joining me on my ramblings on UK Games Expo. Had a great time. Great meeting everybody. Great playing the games. Some fantastic games coming up to look out for. It was great showing Inventions off for people. I'm going to be doing the solo video for this. Will be out in time for the Kickstarter on June the 15th. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos. And one final thought. If you can't find anyone else to play with, there's nothing wrong with playing with yourselves. Until next time. Bye-bye.